can't believe it's taken me this long to unpack this blade with you because there's so much going on in this very unique design. Not only do we have 2 steel variants, including 154 cm and L Max to choose from, there are 4 different ways to deploy, and there's a one-of-a-kind pivot push button lock that is unique in its function that we haven't seen before. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another blade review here at the channel. If you're new, I'm Aaron. This is Gideonstactical, and we're gonna actually dive right in with the lock itself. And I've had this for such a long period of time, I don't know why I haven't gotten to it, just so much to do. I have actually a prototype. Now, to my knowledge, nothing has been changed in the now accessible version, but I got this model from Vosteed. This is the Ankylo, and if you know anything about the Ankylosaurus, that is an armored dinosaur that's really tough and has all those armored plates on the back, not a Stegosaurus. And that's kind of the idea with this design, and you can even kind of see that it's a beefy blade. This is not a compact blade, and it sports the introduction of what they call their Van Core pivot lock. So I just got done with the whole video and I realized that it's probably pronounced V Anchor instead of Van Core. That makes a lot more sense for the lock. So I apologize. I believe it's V Anchor lock instead of the Van Core lock, which you're going to hear throughout the video. Now, we've seen pivot locks before. They're actually nothing new. They've been around since the late 1800s. What this model does a little bit differently is not only give you durability. I did spine thwacking with this right out of the gate because I was like, hey, this is a brand new kind of idea. Let's see how durable it is. Thwacked it several times on the spine. Haven't seen any hopping issues, loosening up, or damage in any way to the locking mechanism. So that's a really good plus. But in tandem with that, what makes this different is that this operates kind of like a liner lock, and I'm hopefully I'm going to show you guys. I might have to run in some photos or a separate angle. But basically, when the blade completely opens, a piece of metal that is housed inside the aluminum handle pops into place into a slit in the back, way hidden in the body there, and then keeps it rock solid. Rock solid lockup. There is no play whatsoever, and because it's operating in much more like a lock back or liner lock, where pivot locks have usually just used the body to stop, this has a dedicated stop bar right there, meaning that over time this will not loosen up. What has been notorious with a lot of push button pivot locks like this is that over time, because of the way the mechanisms work, there will be a grinding happening and you'll actually get more and more play the longer and longer you use the tool. That is not the case because of the mechanisms that are used in this design. So in tandem with the stop bar in the back, and then obviously all you have to do is push that button, and then it pushes the locking mechanism back into the housing of the body, of the handle, and then allows you to close the blade. Simultaneously with that is detent. Most pivot locks like this do not have a form of detent. They either have to rely on springs or other forms to really keep it in place. Well, this uses a little tiny deep tent ball. We can see it in there, and it actually has a good, you can actually see it. You can see it like suck into place there, and you have to overcome it when you deploy the blade. So it has a better detent than any other pivot lock I've ever seen, which is really nice to see. They've really given you access for maintenance on this design, so you can completely take it apart, and even that pivot lock right there with those 2 torque screws can be disassembled. Now, if you want a full rundown of this design and this concept, I want to give a quick shout out to Knife Nerdery, and I believe Kevin, who runs that channel over there on YouTube. He does a huge, in-depth 45-minute video on the history of pivot locks, as well as this particular pivot lock. Completely breaks it down for us, strips it down to its bare bones, and then puts it all back together. So if you like seeing how things work, I'll have a link in the description below this video over to his channel and over to that video so you can explore that as well. But for me personally, how do I like the lock? I sure hope that Vosteed is going to put this on more designs, because I believe the form and function is absolutely there. It's easy to engage. It drops the blade. That's the only thing that I've kind of noticed, is that if you can't get your finger off fast enough, it will hit the back. It doesn't hit the blade anywhere. It's the back stop bar like portion. It will sometimes rebound over the detent, and then you just kind of have to tap it back in. That's the only thing that I've seen that sometimes, you know, you're playing with it and then you're trying to fidget, and look at that. Because you whip it back so fast, it hops the detent, and then you just have to like double tap it again. Now the Vancore push button lock is just the tip of the iceberg with this design, and there's a lot more to unpack. But before we do, I want to invite you to like and subscribe. You can click that little link right there if you're not yet a subscriber here, so that you can be notified every week when I put up new videos just like this, because it is truly you, the viewers, in partnership with our regular sponsors, that help me to get out here and create content, test out gear and equipment for you guys, so you can make wise choices on whether or not a piece of gear and equipment is the right tool for you, or it's better to pass on. And I want to give a quick shout out to today's sponsor, which is Zoleo and their satellite communication device. And what's really exciting is that Zoleo is offering a deal going on through September 13th where you can get $50 off the device itself, plus a free 6-month Gaia GPS premium membership. This will allow you to have access to offline maps and navigation so that you can explore with confidence. And for over 3 years now, my Zoleo has been a constant companion on all of my outdoor adventures, because it gives me streamlined global messaging through the Iridium satellite network. Even on our last trip in Wyoming, we're in the middle of nowhere. I'm able to communicate with my wife, let her know everything is going okay, if we change course, if there's something happens, and just check in. But it is also the fact that I have the progressive SOS button. I can push that button and immediately let my GPS coordinates be known with first responders worldwide, and I can communicate with them and let them know what the emergency is, so they're better prepared when they arrive on location. So we've decided to bushwhack from some lakes that we found, and as the crow flies, back to our main campsite. So we've got about 2 miles that we're just gonna bushwhack. No trail. Good thing I got Zoleo. And with subscription plans to fit in any budget, it just makes sense to have a device like this, making your adventures just that much more enjoyable and giving you extra peace of mind. So I'll have a link popping up right here over to the Zoleo website, as well as in the description box below this video, so that you can start exploring with confidence. Now, how about those 4 ways that you can deploy the blade? And I mean, if you're one of those people, you're a guy or gal who loves watching TV and just fidgeting with your tool, and you're just opening and closing. You're around the campfire, and you're the person that's just opening and closing and playing around with your blade, it's gonna take you a long time to get bored with this knife because of all the ways that you can open it. Now, first and foremost is the eyelet right there that is perfectly chamfered. It is not sharp, but it's not like too rounded to where you slip off. I easily can get my thumb and the meat of my thumb in there and just flick that blade right open. So that is the first and foremost, and it's located in such a way that I can get my middle finger right in there and do a middle finger flick as well. So eyelet, awesome, 0 complaints there. Now we have a back ramp right there that is also got a little bit of jimping, but not sharp, and chamfered well. Boom, that you just velocity it, that's a word, forward. Got to put that swoosh action sound in there. Boom. Shout out to Nothing Fancy. I think that's the first person I ever heard doing that. So anyway, there you go. So the only thing is you kind of got to do like the light switch move, get your finger out of the way, because otherwise, as this is coming in, it could catch on your finger. I've never had that happen, but just so you know, it's like a pull action to do that. Easily done. Okay. Then we have top ramp, also rounded, machined, jimped, all that stuff. So you can put your thumb like that and boom, flip it like that. I'm gonna go slow. There you go. Look at that, just boom, bam. So you got the fingers, you got the eyelet, you got the pullback, you got the front flipper, and then finally, as you've probably been seeing, you have the push button lock itself, the pivot lock itself. I can just depress. Now you do have to do that because the detent is excellent, but you have to push the button in, and then you just flick it open, and then you can push the button and flick it closed. So you could just use the button as well, which is bananas. So deployment, and it's running on massive caged ball bearings. The ball bearings in there in the washer that they are housed in, bronze washer, and you can see it in there, is nice and beefy. They're huge. They're huge ball bearing. It feels a little gritty. I'm going to be honest. It does not feel like Ice Baby, which we have seen in other ball bearing deployments. You can definitely feel the blade, and you can kind of almost hear it. Let's see if I can do it here without slitting my throat. There you go. Well, I'm gonna try and do it slow. Here we go. Hear that? So it's not quite as silky smooth as some other deployments that I have seen, but it definitely, you know, gets the job done. It's not sticky by any means. Now, how about the blade itself? I mean, this is cool with pivot locks and, you know, 10 different ways to, you know, open and close. But I mean, if it doesn't cut, if it doesn't do its job, it's just pocket jewelry, right? Well, the blade itself, again, not a small knife, overall 7.75 on the overall length. Handle to tip, 3 1/4 inches overall. Cutting edge is about 3 inches. Broad blade, reverse tanto, sheep's foot design there. Good sweeping belly. I like that. They did a good job with the belly, means that it does slice because of the high grind, and they didn't go overly thick on the stock. A lot of knives like this we've seen come in at like 0.16 on the thickness, 5/32, overkill. And then it just becomes kind of a crowbar. This is 0.13 or just a hair over 1/8 of an inch thick. So that is good. It has good slicing geometry with that flat grind, making sweep cuts especially very good, easy to go through all the utility type of tasks you would want this tool to do. Piercing because of that aggressive tip. I mean, that they did a good job giving us a lot of geometry to pierce well. A lot of reverse tanto or sheep's foot designs, even like this Fostede right here, are just super aggressive and don't give you a lot of piercing power. This is gonna have a lot more piercing power. So the overall like geometry of the blade works really well. It's very functional and I enjoy it. It kind of stands out and it's functional to boot. Now with that, the 2 different types of steels that are out there is LMAX and 154CM, both excellent in their own right. 154CM and LMAX are both quite rust resistant. This has a black wash. You can also get a stone wash depending on the variant color that you decide to go with. 154CM holds its edge well, easy to resharpen. LMAX is the better, more premium steel. It will hold its edge longer. It is also a little bit harder to resharpen. So just kind of weigh it with that. And since we're talking about steels, I might as well hit pricing. And I will have a link popping up right here if you want to go explore where you can find these blades, as well as a link in the description box below to the affiliate networks I partner with. So appreciate it if you do feel like this knife is like what you want to try. Always appreciate when you use those hyperlinks. Now, the LMAX variants are about 170, and then the 154CM variants are 130. So you kind of have a price swing right there. I think with all of the like proprietary button and all the things we're seeing, and I can't seem to find an issue outside of just those rebounding things right there. I just showed it to you again. That is literally the only thing I can find that I've found an issue with, having had this for several months now in the design. So obviously made in China, got to weigh that, but I think it's definitely in the ballpark and very competitive with stuff coming out of like Wee Knives and Civivi and some of the other manufacturers and OEMs over there. So leave a comment. What do you prefer, 154CM or LMAX and a pocket knife like this? Would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Now, along with that, let's go ahead and move to the handle. The handle is aluminum for all you British guys and all those in the UK. Aluminum. And this they call their frag. I love that. Or you can get kind of like a smoothed out aluminum. 3 1/4 is my knuckle to knuckle span right there, and I wear large size gloves just so you can see there. I can get full purchase, but just barely. But because it's a wider, thicker blade and the handle, I can, you know, grip it well and have control over it. I feel the pocket clip, it's there, but it's not like really abrupt and sharp. So I can hold it that, but we are looking at, how far? 1.5 inches from my finger to the blade. So that's something to consider. Now it has a giant shelf, partly because of the way the mechanism is. They need that space. They got a little bit of jimping right there, so I can rest my finger into the choil, and it's a very functional choil. This feels awesome. This, I'm allowed to really manipulate and control the blade, but I can still use it back here, and I used it a lot even in the footage that you're seeing. You know, I can hold it in either grip, so you got basically a 2-grip format, but up here is going to give you the ultimate control. It's got light jimping. They really did a good job. If you're going to do jimping, shallow and not sharp is the way to go, and they did that with this model here. So good control. I can choke up and get my finger over the reverse and then really guide the tip if I need a very precise cut, pinch pull cuts. So you'll either love or hate it based, I think, actually on the handle ergonomics. Everything else, the blade steels, the shape, the action, all of those things are really there in the fit and finish. It's really going to come down to, do you like this idea, and do you not mind coming up like a Spyderco on a choil, or does that kind of drive you nuts? If it drives you nuts, probably not going to like the blade. So, but in that regard, the way that they have to design this particular model totally makes sense. Now, overall, they did a really good job with the pocket clip. It's blacked out. We got recessed screws, got a good enough loop there to go over most reinforced pants. A little bit of a flare, but nothing too obnoxious. Slides into the pocket. Has just a little bit protruding, enough with, particularly if you get the textured, version. Not difficult at all to get out, deploy, close back up, slides into place. Only downside is that it is not ambidextrous. I don't really see a reason why they couldn't have made it ambidextrous. Just make a black or copper, colored plate right there, and then it could have been an ambidextrous blade. So if you want to do pocket carry, it's only going to be for righties. The Deadbolt Lock series from CRKT is also out there and available. So if you own one of these, especially, I want to know, how has it been like performing, holding up for you? Tommy the trail dog is getting, I don't know, harassed by a bunch of squirrels. Sorry about the barking in the background. But anyway, yeah, if you've already been using this, I'd love to know what your guys' take is and thought. It's probably one of the more unique folders I've had in a while. And so therefore it's going to be hanging out for a while, and it's kind of cool. So in the collection, and I do appreciate Vostid, again, hooking me up with the prototype way back when they were doing the Kickstarter, and now finally getting around to being able to do the video, giving you guys pros, cons, help you to determine if it is the right tool for you. Always appreciate you knife addicts hanging with me today. Love you guys. Check out the other videos. Subscribe if you haven't yet. And until next time, always remember to stay equipped, to stay prepared. See you out there.